and the blue ball was a photon, and they threw it at that person, and that person caught it, and then they threw out a different colored ball that was an inner shell electron, so it got ejected. And then when they threw it at this other one for Compton, one got ejected, but another photon came right back at them. So they were whipping balls back and forth, showing how the photon, how scatter and ejected electrons work. It was simple, right? Very simple. Yeah.
So what did you say? It could be anything, right? Basically.
It could be anything.
Well,
So
it's not
it could be. Here's another one did. They had a tech standing up here, and they were talking about doing a patient, and they had like this devil on one side and this angel on the other, and the angel was telling them all the things that they could do to reduce the patient's dose, and the devil was just saying, screw it, just shoot it, blah 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 blah. Under these conditions where the collimators open and all these different things like that. So it was like radiation protection thing, right? I had a student got up, I think there's some memorable ones. A student showed a video, and she was a modern dancer. My reaction to it was, you're very creative. But she did an interpretive dance of the inverse square law. It was very interesting. Then we had one that was pretty funny where the guy did a rap song, and it was all about density and contrast, and they shot a video of it, and it was it was pretty funny because he I don't know where they did this, but it was like perfect situation for it. And he was, his rapper name was his name was Roberto, and he was Don Roberto. And one of the girls was his backup singer, which was pretty funny because she was very scantily clad and dancing around him. And they sang this song about contrast and density. Other people drew pictures. There's always at least one person that comes in and says, I baked a cake with the basic elements of the tube or something like that, and then cut it all up and everybody ate it, things like that. So it's been poems, it's been songs, it's been acting, it's been pictures, it's whatever. And if you don't want to act in front, you do the video, and then you show the video.
What is a poem? Or like, is it a poem you have to present in a video or in front of someone?
Yeah, the poem would just be something, it could be about anything. You know, we're covering detail, we're covering distortion, it could be anything.
Pick something.
It could be as simple as someone getting up here with a demonstration of radiolucent radiopaque. I don't care what it is, it's an easy 50 points. We don't expect you to work on it for weeks, it's something that you put together just for fun and to be creative or whatever, and get your easy 50 points. If you don't put any effort into it at all, then you probably won't get the 50 points. You gotta put some effort, but it doesn't have to be a huge effort for 50 points. It doesn't have to be a major production.
So hypothetically, it could be inappropriate or something? Well, not inappropriate, but like.
You want to do something inappropriate?
You know, like hypothetically doing violent or something, like, you know, that's, you know, fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Brenda, make sure it's appropriate. So those are easy points. And your paper on the inverse square law, how many pages is it?
2 to 5.
Yeah, it's about 2 pages. It's easy. We're talking about maybe 5 paragraphs or something. How do you get started? You're talking about the inverse square law. So first, you have to tell me what the inverse square law is. So you're going to have to define it. And then 2, you're probably going to have to express it. So you probably have to show an example of it mathematically, right? And then 3, maybe you'll apply it, and you'll apply it to the area of radiation protection, why it's important. We don't want anything about gravity, or anything like that, or Isaac Newton, or any of that kind of stuff. This is strictly, what is it, how does it work, why is it important to us? You could have, oh, trust me, I'm expecting to get really shitty papers, because it seems like nobody knows how to write. You can surprise me. Last year's class really surprised me. Shauna's class, I gave an F to every single paper, because they suck so bad.
Can you tell us why they suck, so we don't do that?
I can give, when you have time for it, I can give you the very basic on how to write a paper. I mean, there's a real easy way to write a paper, and you probably already had this in English, but I noticed that there's a lot of shitty paper writing in the English classes.
If we could somehow, tell you how it works without doing math problems, does that mean we wouldn't have to do math, or you want math like?
I'm not saying, you can put whatever you want. I'm just saying, that's a good example of what you would want. You're trying to explain this to your audience, so. Yeah, for a paper, it's gonna be the basic way, and if you're going for a bachelor's, you're gonna write a bunch of papers eventually, but it's your very basic, I go by the most basic way. You got a grabber, that's your first sentence. Get my attention and make me wanna read it. Usually it's something profound. And then you wanna give me a preview. So if you've got 3 main areas that you're covering on your paper, your preview will say, we're gonna discuss this, this, and this. It's get a preview of what the paper holds. And then you're gonna have some thesis to tie it together. And then you're gonna work on your paper sentence by sentence, so that the beginning sentence of a paragraph is the strongest, and the last sentence is a transition to the next paragraph. And then finally, in your conclusion, is basically restating your whole introduction without adding any extra information. And this is very basic for only 2 pages, double spaced. Make it 3 pages if you're putting any diagrams in. If you put any diagrams in, make sure that they are cited properly, because I don't care what format you use. I'm LA, Chicago, APA is what I prefer, but whatever, you follow that format. So like if you use a diagram, there's a format of citing that diagram. And you have to have the bibliography or your sources that you're citing. You have a cited page at the end, right? You can take anything out word for word if you want, but as long as you cite it, but I don't expect your paper to be all cut and paste. And if you really want a clue on how to make a paper extra special, this is a science paper. So when you're writing it, think of yourself with these thick Coke bottle glasses, a long white lab coat, and a pointer, and your name is Poindexter. And you are writing a science paper. Science papers are not funny. Science papers are very dry. Science papers like stick to the point. So you're Poindexter explaining this. You're the professor explaining this. Huh? And what really brings the paper out is in-text citation. Do you know what in-text citation is? Rather than putting a fact from a source and then citing it at the end of the paper, what you want to do is you want to cite it in text so it sounds, this is the way it would be. According to Professor Mike, head of the physics department at Harvard, blah, 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 about it gives it credibility. This is much better than just quoting him and then putting his information at the back of the paper. You cited them. You could even cite me. I'm not telling you to do this, but you could say, according to Frank Mullican, director of the Central Arizona radiography program, texts live and die by the inverse square law, whatever. And it's a quote from me, but it sounds like your paper has more credibility because you are quoting somebody who has a position of credibility. Yeah? Yes?
What do these 2 things do?
It's in there.
Oh, it is.
Yep, it's in there. There's dates in there. And dates, you have to read it because you have to submit a certain way too. Take off points if you don't submit it the way I asked you to submit it. It has to have a specific file name.
Hold on.
Also, give it to me in rich text format so that I can open it, because some of you might have some apples or something like that. Right, we're just, it says to be announced, I'm saying we're doing it in the last 4 weeks or so. So, after spring break, I would say that you better get your approval and let's get rolling on it. You don't worry about it right now, because you have midterm coming up, but after midterm's over, let's knock out the last couple of things we have to knock out. Bring your homework with you on Monday when you come back, you got next week off, so the following week on Monday, bring your homework. And I don't have any lecture or anything after the midterm, so when you're done with mine, then you do Shauna's, and then you're done. The only thing you have to bring is your homework. I won't even take it, I will go while you're taking your test and go to each spot and just check it and give you a check mark, and then you either get your 50 points or you don't. Yeah?
Sorry, just to clarify, it's due on the last 4 weeks, and then for the midterm, it's all multiple choice?
Well, multiple choice for midterm, multiple choice for final.